I've had some comments in the past asking me what exactly is the point of TZAR Guard, especially in comparison to armored Kossars. I would say in response to that, they are effective elite armored infantry at their designated role, which elite armored infantry can have a little bit of a tough time in general in the Total War Warhammer series because the water's flickering up close. For a number of different reasons. There's just a lot of counters to them typically on the battlefield, but not always. Not all factions have access to effective anti-armored infantry capabilities. Cathay is currently one of those factions. Believe it or not, they really don't have a great way of killing armored infantry outside of magic. So TZAR Guard, both the Great Weapon variant and the Shielded variant are going to be pretty good here at different things. The Great Weapon, Great Sword, even specifically, it should be said, because they have an anti-infantry bonus, very similar to Empire Great Swords, but just better all around in terms of stats. Of course, they are more expensive, but the Buy Our Blood passive also means that they will continue fighting until the bitter end once this pops. We'll have a 30-second duration unbreakable. We'll see. That may end up getting nerfed in the future, but for the rest of the build here from Norman, he's gone super wide versus Cathay. I say super wide, not actually that wide, but a lot of elite units. Two Patriarchs leading on foot, some TZAR Guard, a contingent of TZAR Guard here, got great weapons and shields. The shields, of course, high melee defense, high armor, silver shield as well, 55% missile block chance, going to make them very much impervious to missiles. And again, for a faction that lacks high DPS armor piercing, Cathayans will generally struggle to deal damage to the TZAR Guard, except with their ranged units. We do have some Kossars to back them up, some armored Kossars as well with great weapons, effective armor piercing. You can see, though, that only 30 melee defense on these guys, 36 attack with no bonus, means that they don't actually have the crazy melee offensive output, at least without buffs. We've also got an Ice Witch here, a couple of Streltsy. Ice Witch rocket in with Lore of Ice, Heart of Winter, Death Frost, and Frost Blades with the Guardian Call there, the summon. Little melee attack debuff. Cathay sitting solid with a defensive position here. Two cannons, bunch of spears and halberds mixed. Crossbowmen, shooting gun lord, and cavalry hiding in the woods, ready to sweep up and over the flanks. Let's see. Very much an infantry-based. No sleds, no cavalry build from Kislev. So we'll see how this does here, just instead relying on these elite Kislev infantry to grind through. And of course the cannons will do pretty good damage, but at the same time, concentrating all of this cannon fire on 1,000 cost infantry, yes, you're going to get some pretty good value back, but in the meantime, all these other units are able to advance and get some pretty good damage in. These armored Kossars, great weapons, definitely take a beating from the crossbows, just get absolutely pin cushioned, but they are going to be able to make contact, and because of that Buy Our Blood passive, once they get into melee combat and they can become unbreakable, they'll keep fighting. There it pops. You can see now they'll still continue fighting, and with the crossbows concentrating elsewhere, suddenly they'll be able to turn that fight around and still probably get close to paying for themselves against those Jade Warriors. Same thing with the TZAR Guard filtering in here. The TZAR Guard took a pounding already, but can now advance, and especially with the buffs of the Patriarch. I love this, having the Patriarch on foot. He's got his passive melee attack defense buff here, the AoE heal and vigor refresh as well, plus the active melee attack and heal, and I believe same thing on the other side. Meanwhile, Cathay responds with a halberd summon. They're advancing with the cavalry, overloading the flank, collapsing these Kossars here. Streltsy are going to turn and fire. Streltsy are a decent counter for the Jade Lancers in general. Of course, the armor piercing and melee and armor piercing missiles both are pretty decent. You definitely don't want them getting charged by Jade Lancers if you can avoid it, but here come the TZAR Guard cleaning up the flanks. And against armored infantry factions, which lack offensive output, which is specifically Cathay right now, dwarfs in the future, we'll see if maybe Chaos Dwarfs as well, although I think they'll have a little bit more offensive output. We'll see. Cathay also might get some DPS units at some point. These guys may also be good against Nurgle, actually. I've found that the TZAR Guard, because Nurgle lacks, again, offensive output and armor piercing, as long as they don't get drained out by something like a Great Unclean One, Exalted Great Unclean One, they can be very good there as well. TZAR Guard with Grey Weapons, of course, just absolutely dishing out extreme damage, mopping up all of these Jade Warriors. Going to be pretty rough there. Also pretty rough for the Streltsy as the cannons continue to fire away. Definitely paid for themselves, and the Cathayan cavalry attack actually wins the day against Kislev for once. When's the last time you saw that? Jade Lancers, Peasant Horsemen sweeping through. They've got the terror of the Ancestral Warriors proccing as well. You can see a few of these units actually getting terror routed away. So Cathay definitely pushing back hard, but this infantry fight, man, this is like, you know, Empire can do a similar-ish thing with the great swords, but the difference in stats, you know, doing this, and the fact that you have arguably a better caster lord. I mean, Balthazar Gelt's good, don't get me wrong, but the Zargard, you don't have a, you know, shielded greatsword, right? Like, you don't have, like, a dismounted Reichsguard, which would be very helpful. But the ability to take the combination of the two and just go very wide with the support of these other armor-piercing missiles, I don't know. It's just, like, it's adjacent to what Empire can do, but at the same time, it's, like, a little bit better in some ways, right? And this is even, again, no sleds here, and you have the option to take them, which Empire does not have armor-piercing chariots. Talons of the Night going to be brought up here. Try and finish off some of those Zargard. That is an effective way to deal some damage to them at least. There's no overcharging of magic from Cathay because they only have the one caster, but still pretty good amount of damage. But look at this, man. 78 unit models on this unit of Zargard. Just absolutely resolute at this point. The Ice Switch getting shelled and sniped by the cannons. If the Cathayan player wanted to be degenerate, they probably could have sniped her earlier. Might have made a difference. She did generate quite a bit of value on some Hearts of Winter there that I was not paying attention to. She's still got a couple more, possibly. Yep. Looks like she's going to drop one into beautiful positioning here. Great job by Norman on this. Very nice. Hits all these Jade Warrior crossbows, these peasants as well. With that Buyer Blood passive, just so strong, allowing you to get those few hits, those few spells off. I've seen that multiple times in this game. And man, look at these Zargard. This is impressive. They are just completely surrounded by Peasant Long Spears at this point. Some of them are actually getting hit by the Heart of Winter, the Long Spears that is, but the Zargard just go back to back. They've got their massive two-handed simmies out. So cool. Whatever you want to call them. Sabers, falchions, I don't know. What are they? They're sabers, right? Two-handed sabers. Anyway, as more and more Cathayans rout, they're going to get closer to army losses. It looks like they really don't have much online. These cavalry units did stay the course and actually finish off the routing Streltsian Kossars, but what that means is they didn't come back and counter-collapse. Not that they're going to do that much damage to the Zargard anyway. Really don't have that great of AP values or charge, and with the Vigor effects, if I can get it up, yeah, they are exhausted, which means it's going to be even less impactful. We do see one more summon, though. The Ancestral Warriors coming to fight once more, stabilize that balanced power, try and keep Cathay in the game. Maybe proc some terror routes. Zargard are not immune to psychology, and I don't know if probably the Buyer Blood passive has not popped yet, but a really nice Salyak's Lullaby there for an AoE heal. Yeah, the Ice Switch also being on horseback does mean that she's continuing to provide Frostbite in melee as well. You can come in, kind of get a hit on the horsemen and pull back out in order to slow them down. It looks like casting up something there. See exactly what it was, but a lot of the Cathayan forces are just routing at this point. They really don't want to sit and fight this blob of Zargard anymore. I mean, realistically, the cavalry, because you have the Great Weapon Zargard mixed in here to deal armor-piercing damage, the Jade Warriors probably just lose to them, or the Jade Lancers, rather, probably just lose to them straight up in melee. So another Talons of the Night, which is going to do some friendly fire damage to those Ancestral Warriors, but also leads to some of the Zargard actually getting terror routed here. So it'll be very close, but look at this. The Patriarchs are able to hold on. The Ice Switch also getting some healing from them. That character squad weighing very heavily on the balance of power. Cathayan's trying to get back in, perhaps get on their cannons, but that one unit of Zargard, too, these great weapons, 281 kills, 1535 value. I mean, they are just unstoppable at this point. Cathayan crossbow's going to try and make a stand, maybe pick off a few more of them. You can see the Peasant Horsemen rushing in to try and interrupt this charge, but oh man, they did drop one right there. Such a cool unit, man. Such a cool unit. I'm definitely a fan of this elite human infantry. And they're very effective in this matchup. I mean, 243 kills there, not that much value, but still holding the course. Even the shielded Zargard, one of them, 210 kills, 1100 damage gold value, 13,000 damage dealt, 18,000 damage dealt on the 1584. 291 kills, almost 300 kills. Very impressive, honestly. And with Cathayans sort of preparing for the sled spam and cavalry, going with something like this can definitely catch Cathayan players off guard. And with the buffs from the Patriarch, them being on foot, they didn't get a lot of damage value, but they did definitely provide a lot of support and allowed those Zargard to just absolutely blend through. Yeah, I thought those Armored Cossars might have actually paid for themselves. I guess the one maybe did got into combat, but the Cossars are kind of just like glorified meat shields in this army, helping to take the hits so that the Zargard can come in and clean up on the flanks. Regular Cossars also, pretty good cavalry attack from Cathay. These Jade Lancers did not pay for themselves, but still, tactically, pretty effective. The cannons definitely paid for themselves. Crossbows also, pretty decent job in general. They're great in this matchup. The infantry, though, I mean, the infantry just got mollywopped by Kislev in the melee brawl. There's no question that man for man, Kislev infantry is superior in a straight-up fight. Even if you included, I mean, Celestial Dragon Guard are still just going to get mopped by Zargard Great Weapons, so yeah, definitely infantry fight favors Kislev, at least for the time being. We'll see. Maybe once Cathay gets some more DLCs, they'll be in a better position. That's it for today, folks. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification every time I upload a new video. You'll be notified. Thanks again. See you next time.